welcome along to part 2 of how to jazz up your blues. Now what we're going to cover in this lesson is the exciting bit, the soloing bit. So what I'm going to try and do in this video is I'm going to cover how you can kind of make your soloing sound a little more jazzy, and what we're going to cover is the major and minor pentatonics, focusing on chord tones when you change chords. Also we're looking at the same thing, major and minor pentatonics, and we'll also cover adding some chromatic stuff in there too. And finally we'll look at arpeggios, so how to follow the chords around with some arpeggios, the notes of the chords, and then we'll look at how you can start using arpeggios with chromatics, you know, to start filling things in and using all those other things together. Okay, and what I'll also try and do is I'll play lots of practical examples, so each time I talk about something I'll play a little solo with the backing track so you can see how it goes. Now if you missed the first lesson, we did the rhythm. We talked about how to turn a 12-bar blues into something a bit more exciting by jazzing up the chords. So if you haven't seen that, I'll put a link down below, you can have a look. But basically we've jazzed up the chords. So we've taken a 12-bar blues and we've played this type of thing. That first chord was an A6. Then we went to D9 and an A7. This is D7, we haven't changed. And then we did this for a little walk up on the A. Alright, so that was instead of the A. Then we had this as a turnaround. So if you can't remember that, have a little look on the first video. Right, now the thing is with that, we've jazzed it up a lot. So the problem is now, if someone says, okay, you know, play over that, as a guitar player we think, oh well, what would we do? Because there's all these other chords going on, you know, there's this B minor, this C sharp minor, this C, B flat there, and then of course this bit here where you're going A, G, F sharp, C, B, F, E. When you play that, you know, you think, well, what would I do with that? You know, do I have to follow the changes round to sound jazzy over all those chords? It's going to be too much to think about. And the answer is, you don't have to think of all those changes at all. Just treat it as a normal 1-4-5. So when there's a quick change here, when it's going, if I play simple chords A to D, don't think of the D. You know, you don't have to. You can still think of the A and the E. So in other words, when you solo, you're just thinking of a normal 1-4-5 progression. However, what you do want to do is follow the chords around. So every time there's a change in those normal chords, so if it's 4 bars on A, you're playing something in A. When it goes to the D, you're thinking of D. When it goes to E, you're thinking of E. Right? So you are thinking of the changes, but you're not thinking of all those jazz changes. Hope that's clear. All right. So what also you want to do is try and focus in something that you already know. Now, most of us know this pentatonic scale and the major pentatonic scale over the top. So I won't teach you that. Do let me know if you don't know that, because I'll make another video lesson. But I'm assuming you kind of know major and minor pentatonic. So if you do, that's really good. So the first thing you can start to do is focus on your chord tones. Okay, so when you solo, you're going to emphasize certain notes when the chord comes. So for an A chord, you're going to emphasize a C sharp note. Okay, when a D chord comes, you're going to emphasize this note, the F sharp note. So C sharp, F sharp, they're both the thirds of the chords, and that's what makes the chord sound, kind of announce the presence when they come in. Okay, so C sharp for the A, F sharp for the D. For the E, it's a G sharp here. All right. So what I'll do a little playing example in a minute. But so if you think about it, imagine you've got the chords going round, and I play an A. So they're landing, it's starting on a C sharp there. You don't necessarily have to finish on a C sharp. So every time there's a chord change, you're going to the chord tone. Let me just play a bit solo so you can see. Now a D, A, an E, okay, so I'm focusing in on chord tones. Sometimes I played the roots too of those chords, but mostly when I played an A, I'm playing a C sharp. When it's a D, A. Now I'm going to go to E. Now F sharp for the D. Okay, so that was solo. Let's play with the backing track now, and I'm going to start where everyone likes to start, which is the position 1 of the pentatonic scale. I'm going to play major and minor, but what I'm going to do is when these chords come up, the A, the D and the E, I'm going to play with pentatonic stuff, but land on chord tones, so hopefully it will sound a bit more melodic. Let's see how it goes. 2, 3, 4. Okay, there we go. Hope that gives you some ideas. So I was just playing the pentatonic scale there and just emphasizing as soon as there's a chord change, imagine we're in A, so I've finished there on an A there, or you could start on a C sharp. Okay. So, and when you're going to go to the D, as I say, you focus in on the F sharp. Back to the A. Okay. Right, that's very good. Now, next thing you could think about doing is doing the same thing, major and minor pentatonic, but adding some chromatic notes. Okay, so let's have a look. I'll play some more for you, and I'll play the pentatonic, major and minor, as I say, with some chromatic notes added. So let's have a listen to that. 2, 3, 4. Okay, there we go. Hope that makes sense. So again, think of your scale, and you can add that major in there. Now, there's nothing really too clever about this. When you're mixing stuff around, you're thinking of this. You know, you've got, just look where you've got gaps, basically, you know. So here's a gap, look, in between these two. That's good. You could do another one there, couldn't you? Now this is a good one, because that's the pentatonic, 2 pentatonic notes. You've got that C sharp in the middle. You could go down there. That's the blues scale. And then you've got... So, you know, you could obviously do this type of thing. Sorry. So I went into that 5th position of the pentatonic scale there, finished on the A. But, you know, anything you do a lot of gets a bit boring if you're do that, doesn't it? So what you want to try and do is play a lick that you know. Let's just think of one. Okay, so there, 5 on a high E, I'm hammering on 7 to 8, pull off to 7, pull off to 5, and then 7 to 5. So let's see what we can do. Missed that note. So there, I'm starting off with a normal blues lick, hammering on that chromatic note, or you could think of it as the 3rd. I'm kind of back cycling there, 7 to 5. That chromatic note sounds bad on its own, doesn't it? And then that. So you can come up with all these little ideas like that. So whatever your lick is, even if it's so I'm filling in the gaps there. I did some pull-offs there, I think. Let's just see. There I did some 6s there, major, minor, it should be this, but I did a little walk up, little kind of country idea I suppose there. So whatever your lick, in whatever position, start to think if you can add these chromatic notes, all right? And as I say, whatever position, so you're doing some pull-offs. This is going to take some time, by the way, to muck around. You know, it just doesn't happen, but you're just trying to, you get the idea, you get the concept of it, you know, which is the main thing. You could... So there, I'm kind of pulling off everything. And then instead of going to that note, I go to that one on the 5th fret. And the key is to always land on a chord tone. So alright, so I'm hopefully landing on a chord tone there. Then you go to the D. Back to the A, that was D to the A. Alright, there we go. So have a think about that. Now the last thing I want to talk about is really following the chords. And this is arpeggios. Now arpeggios are the notes from the chords. So you do have to really know your notes on the guitar for this. But let me just show you all these arpeggios. They're very simple. Here's an A. So it's 7 on the D, 6 on the G and 9 on G. So you can also make it a 7 arpeggio by going, that's 8 to 10 on the B. So that could be just a simple A. Great. Or if you want to add these two, that'd be the 7th too. For the D, okay, so that's 7 on the G, 7 on the B, 10 on the B. If you want to make it 7, you can add that 8 and 10 on the high E this time. So, and for the E, it's exactly the same thing, just move up to the 9th fret. So you have 9 on G, 9 on the B, 12 on the B, and then 10 to 12 if you want to do that 7th. That's the 7th there. You can think of the root and just go back 2. There's an E, there's a D. So here's an A, here's a D, E, D. All right, so let me play along with the backing track. First time, what I'm going to do is I'm just going to play it straight. I'm just going to follow the chord changes around. So when there's an A, I'm playing an A. When it's a D, I'm playing a D and back to. So I'm just keeping it straight. Now the second time round, I'll start to fill in the gaps, just the same as we did with the pentatonic stuff when you're filling in the gaps. So how could we do that? I'll talk about that when we come back. So have a listen to the solo, see if there's anything you like in there, see if you can rip off any ideas. But don't have to learn the licks, just see if you can get the concept, okay? 2, 3, 4. There we go. So I hope you could hear, even though the chord changes are, you know, changing, and they're very different, the chords, I'm still following, I'm ignoring them basically. I'm still playing a 12-bar blues. So we've got, first thing I did was follow it round, as I say. So A, D. I did play the D for the quick change. To the E, to the D. Okay, there we go. Right, now the second half, I started to fill in the gaps. And again, what do I mean by that? Same as the pentatonics. Think of this. Where are the gaps? There's that's on. So you could use those little things. Now, when you're going to the next chord, you want to try and go to the next chord very smoothly. So don't jump. If you're here, try not to jump to there. So if I did this, say for example, you could do, that would work. But just think, if you finish here, where's the nearest note in D to where you are? It's back there. So you could do this. Did you see there what I did was when I went to the A, back to the A. A, that's the chromatic note, that's the flat 7, and then you're back. Do you see that? So if I kind of just play around with that a little bit solo-wise, I won't kind of make it too musical, I'll just play like a bit of a robot for this. Now we're going to D, E, D, So there I went into another position slightly, I think. That's the thing, if you know your arpeggio shapes and you know your notes, if you paint yourself into a corner, you know, if you're up there and you think, oh, I don't know the shape, then it's harder to get back. So I hope that helps. There's a lot in there. That's enough to last you a lifetime. To be honest, the pentatonic scale and the major pentatonic is enough to last you a lifetime. But this lesson is really trying to get away from stuff that you already do, you know, major and minor. You're trying to add some jazzy elements, I guess. Now, before anyone writes, I'm not a jazz player at all. You know, I'm not saying I can play jazz. I'm just saying that you can jazz up your playing a little bit and add some little things to it to make it sound a bit more jazzy. So it's not, I guess, strictly jazz. Now there are some other concepts, and if you like this idea, do let me know and I'll make another video which is just focus on some other options as well as doing the arpeggios, things that you can mix in with the arpeggios as well as the chromatics to make it sound really good. So let me know if you want that video. In the meantime, do let me know how you get on, and I hope this helped, and I look forward to seeing you in the next video. Oh, and by the way, if you don't mind subscribing, that would be great, because it keeps me in, you know, in biscuits and cups of tea, which as an English person you have to have. So see you later on the next video.